Hey everyone, welcome back to the Analytical Coding. I'm back with the DAX Series video. So in our last video, we explored basic aggregate functions like sum, average and its iterator functions. And if you haven't watched it yet, check it out first. And today we are diving into the count functions, which help us count values, rows and unique items in Power BI. So before getting into it, as I have already told you that we have to remember 2 points while learning DAX functions: the arguments we are passing to the function and what does the function returns. And coming to the first function, count. So the count function counts the number of non-blank values in a column. So here you can see the syntax of this count function. And first point, what are the arguments this function takes? So it takes the column that contains the values to be counted, that is non-blank values. If the column contains all blank values, then it returns the blank. Okay, now we are having the customers table, which is a dimension table where we are having 20 unique customers, and whereas sales table, which is a fact table, so we are having the 100 rows with duplicate customers names, that is customer IDs. So now let us get back to the report view and count the customer IDs in the sales fact table. Okay, so here I have written a measure called count customers, and within that I have counted the sales customer ID. Okay, now let us add this function into the cart. So let me add that, and here you can see that it is giving us all the 100 numbers, that is the count of all the values in the column we have mentioned. And let us go back to the data view, and here I have a table called sample where I have values column with 2 blank values. And now let us see what this count function returns. So actually we are having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, 7 values and 2 blank values. Let us see what it returns. Okay. Now let us take this measure and change this column to the sample table values column. And now let us see what it returns. So here you can see that this function returns 7 instead of 9 because we are having 2 blank values which is not counted in this count function. Okay, so this is the count function. Coming to the interview question, what happens if we use count on a date column with blank values? So the answer is it counts only the non-blank dates, ignoring the blank ones. Coming to the next function, COUNTX. Already we have discussed about the iterator functions in the previous video, and here we are having the iterator function of count, that is COUNTX. So it evaluates an expression for each row in the table and counts the non-blank results. So I have clearly explained how this iterator function works in the previous video, and similarly here also an expression is evaluated for each row in a table, and after that counts all the non-blank values in that particular expression column. So here it takes 2 arguments, that is table and expression. So the table over which the function iterates and the expression to be evaluated for each row of the table. Now let us see the example. As I have already shown you this sample table, that is we are having values with 2 blanks, and for profit we are having some values without any blanks. Now let us see how this COUNTX function iterates and returns the value, that is total count. So in this card, let me remove this function and add this COUNTX example. And you can see the same value because whenever we go to the data view, we have given the expression values into profit. So 10 into 1, 10. 23 into 1, 23. In this same way for blank one, so blank into 1, it returns the blank value. So after returning, it will check and returns the count of non-blank values. So here we have 2 blank values, except that the other values are 7. So it returned the 7 value here. So that is about the COUNTX. And coming to the interview question, how is COUNTX different from count? So the count function only counts the non-blank values in a column, but COUNTX evaluates an expression over a table and counts the non-blank results. So up to here we have seen how to count non-blank values in a column. Now, do we have a function to count only blank values? Yes, we have. That is COUNTBLANK. So this function counts the number of blank values in a column. So the syntax of this COUNTBLANK is COUNTBLANK with column name, similar to the count function. But this returns only the blank values. So here the column argument is the column that contains the blank values to be counted. And we are having a measure that is count blank of customers of customer ID. So here in the customer ID we have 20 rows without blank values. Now let us see what this count blank function returns if we do not have any blank values. So let me add this measure. So you can see this count blank function returns blank value if we do not have any blank values in our column. So that is what count blank function is. And coming to the next function, that is distinct count. So this function takes the column as an argument. So it counts the distinct values in a column including blanks. So we know that distinct means the different values we are having in a column. Okay. So here the argument is column that contains the values to be counted and it returns the count of distinct values. And here in the count function, we have seen that the count of customer IDs in the sales table returns 100. So it does not remove any duplicate values, right? Now let us check the same function with distinct count. Okay. So we have created a measure distinct count of customers where we count the customer ID in sales fact table. So in the customer ID column, we are having duplicates and we have seen that. Now let us check with distinct count what it returns. So we already know that in the customer ID, we are having 20 unique customers, right? Now let us see what this function returns. Let me add this measure. Yes, you can see that it returns 20. And coming to the interview question, how does distinct count handle the blank values? So distinct count function also include blank value. That means, so here we have sample table, right? Within which in the values column we are having two blank values. Now let us check this distinct count with this sample table values column. In the values column we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different values. Here 5 is repeated. So 6 different values and 2 blank values. So these blank values are also counted as distinct one. So that is why it returned the 7 value. And now what if we want to see the distinct count of values in a column by excluding the blank values? So for that we have distinct count no blank. Distinct count no blank is similar to the distinct count but it ignores blank values. And here is the syntax and it takes column as an argument. So the column that contains the values to be counted and it returns the count of distinct values excluding the blanks. So here let us add that. Let me change this one and use the function. And now let us check what it returns. Yes, you can see that it returns 6 because in the distinct count function it calculated blank as a distinct value. Whereas distinct count no blank avoid the blank value and returns 6. And now let us get into the next function that is COUNTROWS. So till now whatever the functions we have seen all takes the column as an argument. But this count function that is COUNTROWS will take table as an argument. So this COUNTROWS function counts the total number of rows in a specified table regardless of blank or text values. So this counts the rows in a table but not the values. So it does not care about the whatever value we are having in that table. So it just counts the number of rows. So here the table argument is an optional one. It takes the name of the table that contains the row to be counted or an expression that returns a table. So it takes the table but we can either give that argument or we can take it as an optional. So let us check that as well. So here we are having customers table, right? I have created a measure inside this table because I am not using any table argument within this. So let us check how many rows it returns. Okay. Now let us add this count rows into this visual, and you can see that it returned 20. That means it returned the count of rows in the customers table. So whenever we do not provide any table name inside the count rows function, default value is the home table of that current expression. So here when I click on this measure, you can see we are having a home table, right? So here the home table is customers. So where it is created. So whenever we do not provide any argument, table argument here, it considers the table as the home table and returns the number of rows in that table. And there are some cases where we wanted to know the number of rows that table returned. So at that time, we can use that expression inside this count rows so that it counts the number of rows in that table of that expression. Okay, or either we can use the direct table name. So these are the different arguments this count rows takes. These are all the functions related to count except count rows function, which take table as an argument. Every other function takes the column name, and iterator function takes the table and the expression as arguments. So that's it for this video. We have learned aggregate functions in DAX. So in the next video we will explore filter functions like filter, all, keep filters. So some of the most powerful functions in DAX. So subscribe and hit the notification bell to not miss it. Thanks for watching.